The stage lights warm the air as 19-year-old Aureo Villamor steps out from behind the curtain. He's small, quiet-looking, with a shy half-smile that seems almost too gentle for someone who calls himself a rapper. The audience claps politely, nothing unusual so far, until they notice what he's holding. In his hands is a pair of tabla drums, polished from years of use, the edges slightly worn. The judges lean forward, confused. Simon squints. "What are those?" he asks bluntly. "Tabla po," Aureo says softly into the microphone. I rap, sing, and play these at the same time." A ripple of laughter spreads across the audience, not mocking, just surprised. It sounds impossible, even how he smiles, shaking his head like he isn't sure he heard correctly. Heidi whispers something to Sophia, both of them looking fascinated and doubtful at the same time. Aureo sets the tabla down on the small wooden stand the crew placed earlier. His hands tremble slightly, not from fear of the judges but from the overwhelming reality of standing on the AGT stage, something he dreamed about since watching clips on an old borrowed phone back in the Philippines. "Why the tabla?" Sophia finally asks. Aureo takes a deep breath. "When I was a kid, someone donated these drums to our barangay center. Nobody wanted them, they were too strange, but I thought, maybe they could be my voice." The entire auditorium goes silent. He sits cross-legged on the floor, an unusual position for an AGT stage, adjusts the drums, and looks up at the judges. The shy boy is gone. A spark replaces it, a quiet confidence that says he has something the world hasn't seen yet. Simon leans forward, sensing the shift. "All right, Aureo," he says softly. "Show us." And then, absolute silence, before the first beat drops. The silence in the auditorium is so complete that you can hear the distant hum of the stage lights. Aureo closes his eyes for a moment, inhaling slowly, letting the weight of the moment settle in his chest. Then, with a gentle movement of his wrist, his fingers land on the tabla. The first beat is soft, almost like a heartbeat, but crisp enough to echo through the hall. Talk, dhin, talk, dhin, the rhythm starts simple, steady, controlled. The audience listens curiously, unsure of where he's going. Even Simon tilts his head, eyebrows raised. Then Aureo's left hand flicks to the edge of the drum, and suddenly the tempo picks up. His fingers blur, moving with practiced precision, the ancient rhythm building into something urgent and modern. The crowd murmurs, startled at the speed. His hands don't move like a beginner's, they move like someone who has lived inside this rhythm for years. And then, without warning, he starts to rap. It hits like a punch. His voice is sharp, confident, and perfectly locked into the beat. Every syllable snaps with the rhythm of the tabla. From the barangay to the big stage, dreams on my back like a heavyweight. The crowd reacts instantly, gasps, cheers. People lean forward in their seats, stunned at the precision, the power, the flow. He moves effortlessly between deep percussive strikes and lightning-fast taps, each beat syncing flawlessly with his lyrics. The judges look like they're watching something impossible. Heidi's hand covers her mouth. Sophia shakes her head in disbelief. Howie bursts into an uncontrollable grin. But it's Simon's reaction that stands out. He sits forward, eyes widening, a rare spark of excitement in his expression. This isn't just talent. This is something AGT has never seen before. Just when the audience thinks they've figured him out, rapid-fire bars over a thunderstorm of tabla beats, Aureo pulls his hands back slightly, softening the rhythm. The transition is so smooth, so intentional, that the entire energy of the room shifts. In an instant, the fast, electric tapping slows into a gentle, heartbeat-like pulse. Then he lifts his head, and starts to sing. His voice is nothing like his rap tone. It's warm, soulful, surprisingly emotional. A voice that carries stories in every note. The audience gasps again, but this time for a different reason. His singing feels raw, honest, almost fragile. And yet his hands never stop playing. The tabla rhythm becomes a soft, flowing river underneath his vocals. Nene said keep going, even when the nights get long. His voice cracks slightly, not from strain, but from truth. The camera catches a close-up of him, eyes glistening, chest rising and falling with deep emotion, fingers still tapping perfectly in time. On the judges' panel, Heidi's eyes well up. Sophia places a hand over her heart. Even Howie looks unexpectedly moved. They weren't ready for this shift, no one was. A moment ago the stage felt like a rap battle, now it feels like a prayer. As he sings about growing up in a cramped home, of practicing on tabla drums that weren't even meant for him, of dreaming of stages bigger than his world. His voice cracks again. But instead of breaking the moment, it makes the performance even more powerful. The crowd quiets. Not a whisper. Everyone is listening. By the time his final soft note blends into the delicate rhythm beneath it, the audience isn't just impressed. They're emotionally hooked, and they know something big is still coming. Areo's soft singing fades into a trembling silence, and for a moment it feels like the performance might be ending. The judges lean forward, expecting a gentle finish. But then, he strikes the tabla with a thunderous, chest-shaking beat. The entire stage flashes red and gold, lights erupting like fire. The audience jolts upright. The calm, emotional Areo from a moment ago disappears, and in his place stands a performer ready to shock the world. His hands explode into motion, left palm driving deep bass tones, right fingers unleashing rapid, impossible rolls. The speed is insane, almost a blur, yet every strike is perfectly controlled. And over this storm of percussion, he begins to rap and sing at the same time, weaving the two styles back and forth with unbelievable precision. From the shadows to the spotlight, from the struggle to the stage light, dreams don't grow unless you fight. Tonight, I rise. Each line flies out with razor-sharp rhythm. Each note soars with raw emotion. He leans into the mic, breath sharp but steady. Sweat glistens across his forehead, dripping onto the tabla as his hands continue their furious dance. The audience is on their feet now, cheering, screaming, clapping to the beat. The camera pans across the theater. Wide eyes, open mouths, people pointing at the stage like they can't believe what they're seeing. The music builds, higher, faster, wilder. Then Areo rises from the floor, still rapping, still pounding the drums placed now between his knees. The final verse crashes in, and with a massive final slap on the tabla. Boom! The music stops. A wall of sound explodes from the crowd. The judges shoot to their feet. The stage is shaking with applause. Areo just stands there, chest heaving, eyes wide, realizing he may have just created one of the greatest AGT moments ever. When the final boom of the tabla fades, the entire auditorium hangs in an electric silence. The kind that only follows performances people will remember forever. Areo stands frozen on stage, chest rising and falling, sweat dripping from his forehead. His hands still hover over the drums, trembling slightly. He doesn't smile. He doesn't bow. He just waits, afraid to hope, afraid to breathe. Then, the audience erupts. A tidal wave of cheers crashes through the theater. People in the balcony rise to their feet, shouting his name. Phones are held in the air, trying to capture the moment. Backstage, even the crew members peek out from behind curtains, stunned by what they just witnessed. But the real shock is happening at the judges' panel. Heidi is the first to react, hands over her head, yelling, "That was insane." Sophia is practically bouncing out of her chair, pointing at Areo like she's discovered a hidden treasure. Howie stands up, clapping so hard it seems like his hands might break. And Simon Cowell just sits there, silent, staring at Areo. The audience quiets again, waiting for his reaction. Simon slowly stands up, no smile, no words, just a long, unreadable look. Areo's heart pounds. Is this good? Bad? Is Simon about to critique him? Finally, Simon exhales, shakes his head in disbelief, and says, "I don't know what I just watched, but it might be one of the greatest auditions I've ever seen." The crowd screams. Simon looks at the golden buzzer, looks at Areo, looks back at the buzzer. Then, he slams his hand down on it. Confetti explodes like a golden storm. Areo drops to his knees, overwhelmed, tears falling onto his tabla.